Welcome to Flash Tutorial Request 35, Dress Up, Animate It. It's a follow-up to Flash Tutorial Request 34, Dress Up Game, which I have on my computer now. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact me at flashthingy@hotmail.com. When I left this tutorial, I had it that the hats would change. I didn't do the scarves and the buttons, and since then I have. So we'll just look at that. This is what you have to have done to do this tutorial. You have the hats working, the scarves working, and the buttons working. And just in case you had some trouble, I'll show you the action script that I did. I put 2 forward slashes and wrote the word hats to identify this first section. Then what I did was I went down to here and I copied all that. Right click, copied it. Then I pasted in. See, I made this word buttons first of all, and then anywhere I've seen the word hat, I put BUT. BUT, 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 right down here. I'll do that, go with that first. Then I pasted again, and everywhere I had hat, I wrote scarf. And so now let's test that. And we have the hats working, scarves working, and buttons working. And that's what you need to have to do this tutorial. So what we want to do is, in this tutorial, is when the model is completely dressed, we want the model to move across the stage. Open up the library panel, and I'm going to do my button movie clips with you. On this button movie clip, I want you to select frame 4 of the actions panel, insert a blank keyframe. We're doing this on purpose, and put another stop in here, S-T-O-P, open and close semicolon. Now you may say, well, the stop's already carried up. It is, but we're going to change that after. And I want you to click on this one, drag it one to the right. Click here, insert keyframe. And I just want to identify this frame. So I'm just going to use my rectangle tool and just put a little rectangle here for now. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Right click, copy this action script layer. Go down to the next movie clip. In my case, it's my button screen. Right click, paste in the new actions layer, delete the old one. Click on this, drag it once to the right, insert a keyframe and little rectangle, and I'll do one more. My button's red. Right click, paste the layers, a new actions layer, delete the old one, fuzzy square, drag it once to the right, insert keyframe, and on that number 4 keyframe, put that. Do the rest of your close movie clips and I'll get back. And I believe I have mine all done. Going back to scene 1, main scene, main timeline, making sure all the layers are locked. Selecting this buttons layer, inserting a layer, selecting frame 1, and I'm going to make a button and put it here. So I have one already made, paste in place, there. Now, if you don't know how to make these buttons, you can go back to the tutorial 34 and see how we duplicated these buttons. It's called walk. If I look inside of it, I have a layer with the oval on it, and I have a layer with the text on it. So back to scene 1. And open up the properties panel. It should have a instance name of walk underscore btn. We made a walk button. Let's call this layer walk, W-A-L-K BTN, so I know what it is. I'm going to lock it, and let's write some action script for it. So way down the bottom of my actions panel, put a couple spaces in, and type, 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 type. I have 2 forward slashes, walk, W-A-L-K. There's that walk button. Period. Add event listener. We've done these before. Small a, capital E, capital L. Open bracket, mouse event, small m, capital M, capital E, period. Click is all capital letters. All turns blue, comma, walk again, W-A-L-K. Close bracket, semicolon. Here's the function, turns purple, walk again, W-A-L-K. Open bracket, event, small e, colon, mouse event. You can copy it and paste it. Close bracket, colon, void, void and function same color. Open curly bracket for my function, close curly bracket for my function. And at this point, we're only going to trace the word, walk. So T-R-A-C-E turns blue, open bracket, quotation mark, W-A-L-K, quotation mark, close bracket, semicolon. Now before we just test that to make sure that button works, I want you to notice that up here, when I'm tracing my scarf, I have scarf 3, up there scarf 2, scarf 1, then I just put B for button 3, B for button 2, B for button 1, and up here I just had 3, 2, and 1. So let's test this out. Make sure there's no errors. Good. And there's my buttons for my scarf and there's my output numbers for my buttons and my hats and my scarves. And when I press this, we should trace walk. Good. So far, so good. Now what we want to do when we press that walk button is we want to jump into those movie clips and have something take place. So I'm down here with this button that we just made above the trace, and type this information. I'm just formatting it here. Hat B underscore MC, that's the blue hat, period. Next frame. Okay, next frame, open close bracket, semicolon. Copy that, paste it, change the B to a G, paste it again, and change the B to an R. So that's my 3 hats, and we're going to jump to the next frame. Now there's one more thing we got to do before we try it, is up here we got to make all these where it says scarf go to and stop. You still have a 2, make that a 3, make that a 2, a 3, a 3, so make all them 3. So let's see what that means. Let's open the blue movie clip, blue hat, and let's look at the timeline here. It's sitting here on a frame that says stop, which has nothing on it. If we indeed select the blue hat, it says go to frame 3 right here. So I'll see the blue hat. That's where it'll sit. All the other hats will stay here because they stay on frame 1. So only the blue goes here. Then when we hit that button that says walk, every movie clip is going to be advanced. The three movie clips will be advanced, and the ones that weren't selected will advance to a blank frame, but the one that has the hat on it, which is now sitting here, will jump to this frame. So let's see if this works for the hats. I select the blue hat, hit walk, it jumps to that frame. Green hat, walk, it jumps to that frame. And the red hat. So that works. We now have to write the code for the other hats and the walk button. Open the actions panel, come down to the bottom, and select these 3 right here. Right click, copy, put an enter in, and paste them. And just relabel, in my case it would be but, B-U-T as in button, B-U-T, B-U-T, and then I can paste it again, and mine will be this time scarf. And I'm going to copy scarf, paste it, and paste it again. And let's see. I'm going to try a blue scarf with a green hat. And there's my, tells me I went to all those frames. So I'm assuming all the other ones work. I suggest at this point you definitely save your FLA because the fun part's coming up now. Make your stage about 25%, and I think my stage ends right about here. And what you want to do is unlock anything that has to do with the snowman, in your case your model, and your clothes. So my snowman, scarf, 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 button, 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 hat, hat, and hat. Not this buttons, that's these ones here. And when you do, come down to your stage, right click, select all. Now I have them all. Using your arrow key, drag it over till it's roughly there. Now if I click off to the side for a minute and open my panel, I know that my width is 550. I know my width is 550. So if I highlight that, all that stuff again, I've got it all. If I'm not sure, right click, select all, open the properties panel, and it tells me 467 is my x-axis, 467. I'm going to make it 470. 470, enter, and that puts everything at 470. Going to lock all the layers again, and I'm going to open just the snowman layer. And double click on the snowman, so I'm inside the snowman movie clip. Let's go up to about frame 155-ish, right here, and make sure you go right down in one motion, like that. Right click, insert keyframes. Select this frame, come down here, right click, select all, open in the properties panel, and I'm going to, right here, add 400 to this. So click on it, and right after that minus sign, put 4. And then come down here and click off to the side, which moves him way over here. Select all these, right click, create classic tweens. So now we have him walking across the stage, and because we selected them all at once, they're all going to move in sync. Lock all the layers, select the top layer, insert one, call it action script, AS. Now, if I come down here like this, select them all, get the fuzzy square and pull it one to the right, then right click, copy these frames, all those frames, and go like this, right click, paste frames. So that just put them on that first frame for me so that now they can move. Click this frame 1 of the actions layer, put a stop in here, STOP, open close semicolon. Back to the timeline, select frame 2, insert blank keyframe, open the actions panel, play, open and close brackets, semicolon, and at the very end, insert blank keyframe, open the actions panel, stop, open, close, semicolon. Now we have to make the clothes track along with the snowman. Back to scene 1, lock all the layers, and let's do the red hat, hat red. So pick any one you want, unlock that layer, highlight it, double click, so now you're inside of that movie clip. I'm using the hat red one. Make sure this first frame says stop, and make sure this frame says play. So just remove the stop and put play, P-L-A-Y. Open close bracket, semicolon is there. Now I want you to keep your eye on the hat here for a minute. So I'm going to make this larger. And the hat looks reasonably well there. And they should be in the same spot on that frame and that frame. If they're not, put it right on this frame and then come here and click and insert keyframe so that they're both there. While you got that second one selected, get rid of this square. We don't need this anymore. Let's go back to the snowman for a minute. And it starts here. It's already on frame 1. And it's going to go up to, I believe it was 155. So it actually moves, when it's told to, 154 frames. So our clothes must move 154 frames. So now let's go back to the scene 1. Select that hat red layer. Double click on it. Get inside the movie clip. And where the snowman was sitting on frame 1, we're sitting on frame 3. So frame 3 plus 154 means I got to go up to 157. Just making sure that I got this straightened out. Yes, I only have that. So I got to go up to a frame 157. 55 is right there. Right click, insert keyframe, and I can see I'm on 157. Select this action layer, put in a stop, S-T-O-P, open and close semicolon, and click on this last keyframe. Make sure you have the snowman hat. Select it and see where it says here. Mine says minus 21. I want to make this 400 different, so put a 4 in there. Click off to the side, and you see he scoots way over here. And come in here and make this a classic tween. Let's go back to scene 1 for a minute. Open the actions panel. Come down to the bottom. And here we got to tell that snowman to move. So after this one here, before my walk, my trace for my walk, I'm going to copy this last line, insert or enter, paste it, and call this snowman. S-N-O-W-M-A-N. And because we haven't given him an instance name yet, make sure snowman layer is unlocked. Highlight it, open the properties panel, and in here write snowman. S-N-O-W capital M-A-N underscore M-C. And this should be what we're trying to achieve. If I indeed select the red hat and press this, they track. I'll do one more of these with you, and then what you have to do is the rest of them. So let's do a scarf. So lock all the layers. Let's do the red scarf. Select the first frame, highlight it. I can't find it there. It's right there. You gotta go to get those double cross hairs. Let's make the stage a little bigger. 200. And select that red scarf. There it is right there. Look at that. Now I'm inside the red scarf movie clip. The first thing, I want to make sure that this is a stop. Make sure this one is play. P-L-A-Y. Make sure here that this frame and this frame, the scarf's in the same place. It is. but I don't want this anymore. Delete it. I know I want to go up to 157 because it's exactly the same as the other one, which is right 55 right there. Insert keyframes. I want this to be a stop on this open close semicolon. And I know here I want him to move 400 points. So put a 4 in here. Right click, create classic tween. Let's go back to scene 1 and let's give this a test. Red hat, red scarf, and they both track. So you have to do the same for all your clothes with that tracking format. And I'm going to do mine and get back and show you what I accomplished. One of my pieces of clothing has an axis of minus 3.3, and with that I want it to be 400 off, so I'd have to put a 4 0 then 3.3. Just thought I'd show you that. I'm going to do this last one with you. It's my scarf green. There it is there. Make sure that's a stop. Make this a play. Make sure my scarf is here in position around his neck. That one's in a good position around his neck. Delete that identifier thing. Up to, in my case, 157. Insert keyframes. Put a stop in here. And make sure this is highlighted. Open the properties panel. Oops, gotta highlight it again. And mine says 23, so I want a 420. Oops. I want 423, so put a 4 in front of that. Right click, classic tween, and if I have them all done, it should work. I'll make them all blue. That's tracking quite well. So I'm quite happy with that. Hope you learned something from these two tutorials, and I hope you use what you learned.